Welcome back to Grid Drop. Today we're going to help you get faster around one of Formula One's most satisfying tracks, Spain. If you enjoy this video, feel free to leave any feedback or questions in the comment section or in my Discord, which is linked in the description. That being said, let's get right into it. This video will be broken down into 5 sections: car setup, Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3, and finally a full lap. These sections are all equally important, so stay tuned to the end of the video if you really want to improve. So here's the setup I run in Barcelona. Feel free to pause the video and screenshot this if you want to try out this setup on your own. This setup prioritizes balanced aerodynamics, especially front-end rotation, and an even distribution of downforce for straight-line speed. As a disclaimer, this setup is a general baseline for you to start with and applies to both hot laps and a race. I recommend doing a few laps with this setup and tweaking it to fit your own style. On the main straight and heading towards turn 1, keep an eye out for the meter boards on the left. Just after the 100 meter board, about halfway between 100 and 50 meters, brake. This is a very hard and sharp jam of the brakes, and the most important thing for this corner is rotation. Right after the 50 meter board, start turning into the corner. Turning in now, aim to get your front right wheel on this inside curb here. You really want maximum rotation. Make sure to avoid going over these yellow raised curbs. You really only want to use the red and white one. As soon as you touch this inside curb, you should be back on the power. You can be pretty aggressive on the throttle here as you carry speed and grip to the corner, so don't be afraid to jump on the power. As soon as you get off this curb, transition into the sweeping left. By the time your car is turning into this left-hander, you want to be at 100% throttle. The slight banking of that right-hander into this left-hander really compresses the car into the track, so you can definitely be aggressive with the power here. You have a lot of grip at this point. Try to use some of this inside curb here and stay smooth with your steering. On exit, widen out to the right here, staying flat out. Once on the right side of the track, quickly move to the outside to create a straighter line through this upcoming long right-hander. Once in the middle, start pulling back into the right, sticking close to this inside curb. Going up through the gears now, naturally let the car widen out to the left, but make sure not to exceed track limits here. You'd be surprised, but it's actually easy to lose focus and dip your tires off the track. Anyway, that's a look at Sector 1, now let's see it at full speed. Sector 2 begins with a fast right-hander, which can be a little bit tricky. Approaching the corner, there are 2 main reference points you can use. The first is the 50 meter board on the left. If you use this reference point, you should be braking right after you pass it. The other, easier reference point is the huge Crypto.com sign overhead. If you use this point, brake right underneath it. For this corner, you also really need to focus on rotation. Under braking and turning in, focus on trail braking effectively and slowly releasing that brake pressure to get front-end response. Once bleeding off the brake and at mid-corner, start getting back on the power. Again, there isn't much of a risk of spinning here, so you can be pretty aggressive on the power, just make sure you don't run wide on exit. It can be easy to dip a tire off the track here, so make sure you keep the car centered and the steering smooth. At full power now, switch to the right side of the track and watch for the 50 meter board on the right. You want a very harsh jam of the brakes here right before you reach this board, and then turn into the corner immediately. Under braking, slowly bleed off that pressure and stick close to this inside curb. Try to create the straightest possible line through this corner. At the apex now, start getting back on the power. Here, you have to be a bit more cautious with the throttle as this corner is much slower. Swinging out to the right side of the track now, use the entire width of these exit curbs and stomp down on the gas. Just beware of track limits here. Stick to the right side of the track now and prepare for this super fast left-hander. There aren't any good reference points for braking here, so I like to use the rubbered part of the track to indicate the general braking zone. However, if you really need a reference point, brake just before where this gravel ends and becomes grass here on the left. For this corner, a very quick and sharp jam of the brakes is necessary, along with a couple downshifts. The key here is rotation. Stay on the brake just a fraction longer than you think, and turn into the corner aggressively, aiming to use this inside curb. Once on the curb, straighten out and immediately get back on the power. Into this slight right-hander on exit, the back end might kick out a little bit, but as long as you keep proper control of the throttle, you should be fine. Into this corner now, use the red and white curb, but definitely avoid this yellow raised one at all costs. Full throttle now, sway towards the left side of the track, and on exit, you can ride this left-hand exit curb. Right as this curb ends, turn into the right-hander, but keep the throttle pinned. You want to take this one flat out. Try to pull to the inside curb here, or at least get as close as you can. Continue to stay flat out and let the car naturally drift to the left side of the track on exit. This corner can be a bit difficult to get right if your entry is off, so keep practicing the turn-in point if you're struggling here. Now, keep the throttle pinned and fly down the straight. That's a run-through of Sector 2, now let's see it at full speed. The first corner of Sector 3 is prefaced by a hard braking zone. On the right side of the track, watch the meter boards. You want a very hard jam of the brakes at exactly 100 meters. Under braking now, you can start turning into the corner once slowly bleeding off the brakes. As soon as you reach the apex of the corner, slowly get back on the power. You have to be a bit more cautious here than the beginning of the lap, as this is a slower corner. Stay consistent on the power increase and use the entire width of the track here, but make sure not to dip over the white line on the outside. Increasing the throttle more now, start pulling back towards the inside of the track, aiming to face this curb. At full power now, stick to the left side of the track before pulling into this right-hander. Try to stay parallel to the curb here, and brake right as you start becoming even with the curb. For this corner, brake either a little bit harder or a little bit longer than you think you have to. Once getting back on the power, naturally let the car ride out the rest of the corner and drift towards the left side of the track. I like to use as much of this exit curb as I can here and really extend the track, allowing me to get back on the power a bit sooner. On the exit curb now, watch for track limits. Thankfully, they got rid of that horrible chicane here, so stay flat out and turn into the next corner. Here, you want a simple outside, inside, outside line. Stick to the left exit curb after the corner, and now you're facing the final turn of the lap. Into this corner, yet another outside, inside, outside line is necessary. It can be a bit tough to take this one flat out as well, so a slight lift at mid-corner is the best thing to do here. Upon exiting, sway out to the exit curbs on the left, and keep the throttle pinned for the very long straight. That's a look at Sector 3, now let's see it at full speed. Now let's take a look at a full lap. So there you have it, a full lap of Barcelona broken down corner by corner and sector by sector. If you have any questions or need more tips, feel free to leave a comment on this video or in my Discord. So if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.